it became from being defeated to like, man, all right, motherfucker, maybe, you know, maybe tomorrow we can go 0.75. You know, it just became this different mindset. I turned negatives into positives. So I would take it like, who would even think about doing this? So I would sit on my couch saying, who at 297, who can't fucking swim that great, who's scared of the fucking water, would have the fucking balls? Who had the balls to fucking man up, quit a job, and go and just put everything on himself? So it's how I started talking to myself and putting myself in a whole different category, and that would fuel me the next day, and I just kept using that as fuel and fuel. No one would do this shit. No one would do this shit. You're the baddest motherfucker around. You're the baddest motherfucker ever lived. And I just kept fueling me with the right kind of message that I needed to hear that I was never telling myself. And through time, it became reality to myself.
So you start out on the first day, and then do you start running again the second day?
Yeah, the second day I went right back after it again. But I started realizing I can't run that far.
Right.
So what I did was I became damn near a professional cyclist with the miles I put on the bike. So whenever I watched TV, I had to be doing something. So I was riding the bike. I rode a bike a lot to lose the first initial kind of weight, because my bones were just hurting so bad. My body was just broken. And I learned to get over that also. And I tried to swim a lot. I wasn't a great swimmer, but putting fins on kind of equalized my body. I wasn't so negative buoyant. So I started finning a whole bunch. And I spent hours in the pool, trying to get more and more comfortable. Not because I was going underwater. I was so scared of the water that I had to live in the water. I had to become one with the water. So going to the pool used to scare me. So I went to the pool an awful lot. And then the bike got easier. I was able to run more. I went from like 1 mile. 1 mile was a great accomplishment. 2 miles, and then from 2 to 3 was a big one. Then I went from 3 to 6. And then like they have a warning order that they give people to get ready for buds. And the whole thing was running 6 miles 5 days a week. And that was my goal. And so I failed, I go back to scratch. I use some positive motivation. I have like one day where I'm like fucking defeated. But I started realizing this is part of the process. This is part of the journey. I had to realize this is part of my process versus just saying, like I used to, I'm just not good enough. If I'm not good enough, we always say that shit. I'm just not good enough, and then we try something else. I'm gonna fucking make myself good enough. And that became my mentality. I'm gonna make myself good enough. And so I misunderstood a lot, but that's all it came down to. I made myself good enough. And the days I couldn't run that far, the next week, I would do 2-a-days. So on the running, if I ran a 1/4 mile, I wait a fucking couple hours, it'd haunt me, bother me. I try to run a 1/2 mile the next time, same day. You can do more than this. If I had to walk, I had to walk. It just became just a process of grinding and grinding, and grinding is not even a good word for it. It's not even a good word for it. And just going further and further. And then when I got through running, I go to the bike, I go to the pool. If I got tired somewhere, my legs were tired, I go to the gym. And I developed this crazy workout where I was doing volume, like 200-300 reps of like very lightweight. People always say, you know, how come you don't have any like loose skin? My workout routine in the gym became sick. It became sick. I was just doing 200-300 reps, 400 reps on like chest, just like for one simple exercise, the bench press. And I rack it, get back on it, just rep it out, trying to burn as many calories as I can, build that muscle mass. And I just became obsessed with it.
So when you're doing this, are you worried at all about repetitive stress injuries or the fact that your body's not conditioned for this, and you're basically taking your body where you had abused it,
right,
and now you're forcing it to live like an elite athlete?
Right. I didn't care. I didn't know any better. I didn't think about it. I didn't know that working out that hard would fuck you up.
Did it fuck you up?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's one reason why I went through 3 hell weeks. So I don't talk about it a lot, but the stress of my life getting to 24 caused me to have some serious psoas issues. I didn't know anything about this shit. The psoas muscle is what we use. It's your hip flexor muscle. And basically under stress, it starts to tighten up. And I stuttered from the time I was in 3rd grade, the time I was in 7th grade, white blotches on my skin. I was a nutcase. And so the insides of me are also getting fucked up. So in this process, my psoas muscle got real tight to my T12. I can show you the bump on the back of my head after this show's over, but I started growing this fucking like large tumor looking bump on the back of my head from my body compressing. So I'm 6'1", but my muscles were like 5'9", because I just started just the muscle tightness from my psoas going to my T12. I was just getting tighter, my quads, everything getting tired from just stress in my life. So the more I stressed my body with the workouts, my lower body became out of balance. So I had a bunch of stress fractures, a bunch of injuries going through buds. And how I got through buds was they gave me my third time, was my last time going through Hell Week. I basically put a black sock on at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I would get duct taped. I had numerous stress fractures on both of my legs because my body was literally like coming in on itself, and my legs were like I was pronating really bad and putting stress on my shins. And so I would put duct tape. I would duct tape my feet, and I would show you the top of them where I have pressure ulcers that were the size of quarters from, you know, how the ankle joint, so the foot goes to the shin, and how you move this, where the tape was so tight, it just created a nice ulcer right there. And I just kept going through it.
So you just use that tape to just support your ankles?
Right, so I basically cast myself, and for the first 30, 45 minutes, the pain was excruciating, but then it would go numb. And whoa. I would go numb, and then that's how I got through.
Wow. Did that do any long-term damage?
Yeah, I've been out for 5 years. So I retired from I did 21 years in the military. I did time in the Air Force, and I did about 16 years in the Navy.
How old are you?
43. So
you look like you're 30.
That's good. That's good.
You look very young for your age.
Whenever I'm stressed, I get after it. I fix whatever's bothering me. So I basically, over the last 5 years, everything I've done in my life, I did it being very unhealthy. I'd never talked about it. I just kept going. And it cost me pretty much, I was choking my insides out. Adrenal issues, tons of adrenal issues, thyroid issues, anything with the endocrine system pretty much shut down on me. My organs were pretty much shutting down. And I went from a guy who could run 205 miles to a guy who couldn't get out of bed. And the doctors were trying to search what was wrong. That's why I figured out the psoas muscle. No one figured it out. And I hit it by accident. So I've missed 2 days of stretching out in 5 years. And so what happened was all the shit I did to myself, the stress I was under, physical, mental, all kind of shit, it just choked me out from the inside. And doctors put me on all kind of medication. And the medication started doing the exact opposite of
what kind of shit? I
was on DHEA. I was on some different things for my estrogen, different things for my, I was on anything to do with your, like with your endocrine system. Thyroid medicine, good God, I was on cortisol, all kind of shit to get my stuff. I had like this lump in my throat from like the heart was always, I couldn't run down the street. My body was just jacked up. Couldn't sleep. My whole body was just down, shutting down. I could give you a lot more than that, but just to give you an example, I was fucking dying. And so I couldn't do anything. I went from a guy who was this guy to a guy who can't do shit. And doctor's like, I don't know what's wrong with you, man. You know, your labs are this. Is it PTSD? Is it what's going on? I knew what any of that shit. So I sat in the bed one day and I realized, man, my life is over. This is it. But it gave me time to reflect on everything I had accomplished. Cause I'd never taken time to reflect on the kid I was to the man I am now. So honestly, the time I wasn't working out, it was the best time of my life because I got a chance to really reflect back and be proud of who I became. Cause I never took time to do that. It was like one after another. Get the fuck after it, get after it, get after it. You ain't good enough, motherfucker. Get after it, get after it. And I got halted. So anyway, this process went on for a while. More medication. This isn't working. That's not working. No doctor can figure it out. I'm like, fuck it. I saw this doc about 8 years before this happened. And he was like, hey man, you're so fucking tight. I've never seen anybody in my life as tight as you. You need 50,000 hours of stretching. He threw out some crazy number. I was like, whatever. Stretching, you know, stretching's bad for you. So
you thought stretching was bad for you?
Yeah, stretching is bad for you, man.
Why did you think that?
I read some article, man, fuck stretching, man. You know, I worked out so hard, I didn't have time to stretch, man. I was running 150 miles a week. I was biking to work, man. I was getting after it, man. I was working a full-time job. And stretching and doing that. So my body was literally getting tighter and tighter, not just from what I was doing. Everybody thinks, oh, because you ran this. No, it wasn't that, man. And so I said, no, I'm going to try to stretch out. So I don't do anything for like 10 minutes, or I don't do no 6-minute ab bullshit. So I started stretching out 1 hour, hour and a half. Long story short, man, I shave my head almost every morning. And that bump that was on the back of my fucking head, I started realizing it was shrinking for some fucking reason. I don't know why, because I shaved my head back and I was like, it's getting smaller. Smaller that bump got, healthier I got. Smaller that bump got, I was like, oh, hold up, motherfucker, what's going on? That psoas muscle started getting more and more stretched out, more and more relaxed. And over a period of 5 years, I'm in the best shape of my damn life right now from stretching out.
Wow.
That's all it was. I went from like, I can't even count the medications I was on. Now I'm on a very low dose thyroid pill, period.
Do you ever do yoga?
All the time, man, all the time. And if I were to tell somebody one thing right now, man, that psoas muscle and getting that hip flexor opened up, because we're all stressed the fuck out. It's so much worse than others. It changed my life.
Yeah, how do you say Nick Gregorius? How do you say his last name? The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt from England, the Greek fella. He has a great quote about yoga. He said, yoga is a martial art you do against yourself.
Yep.
It's a great way of putting it.
100%.
That's what it feels like when you're in there, right?
100%.
And so how many years ago was this? It was 5 years ago
5
where
years
you couldn't
ago.
do anything? And how long was there a period where you couldn't work out at all?
There was so I always tried to do something, but I couldn't run hardly at all. I could run maybe half a mile and all that heart shit would happen and my heart would get AFib and all kinds of stuff would happen. And I started just stretching, and also I tried to do pull-ups every now and then, but everything was just, I didn't have the energy. I didn't have anything. I mean, nothing was processing right for me.
So did you think that you had just broken your body because you pushed it too hard?
100%. I sat back in that bed that night, and I had a lot of time to reflect. I said, you know what? I was actually kind of proud of myself in a very sick, twisted way. I even though people don't understand it, I had to do what I had to do. And, and I did it. Like, I didn't tell you how I got into ultra running. There's a lot of things that, so I pushed it extremely hard. I went way beyond what I thought was capable. Like my first ultra race I did, I was heavier. I was in Iraq, the Marcus Luttrell lone survivor. I was in Buds. I was in 3 hell weeks, as you know, as I said a million times, and I knew a lot of guys that died in the operation. I was at free fall school with Morgan Luttrell, who was his twin brother, during the Operation Red Wings, where Marcus Luttrell was the only survivor. I knew Marcus Luttrell well, and I was about 200 some odd pounds, and I didn't run hardly at all at this time. I was a SEAL, but I was like a bodybuilder, and I did elliptical trainer 20 minutes on Sunday. All I did. That's all I did. Fuck that cardio stuff. I was never about it until this happened. So that happened, and I was like, man, I gotta find a way to raise money for these families. So I Googled I found a foundation, the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, and I Googled the 10 hardest races in the world. I knew nothing about ultra running. The first I'd ever run was 20 miles at one time. And so what came up was the Badwater 135. 135-mile run through Death Valley in the summertime. I thought it was a fucking stage race. I didn't know people could run 135 miles at one time. I had no idea it was even possible.
What do you mean a stage race?
Where you run like 20 miles, camp out,
stages.
And then run 20 more till you get 135 miles.
Right.
So I wasn't an ultra runner, didn't know what ultra runner was. I called the race director up, Chris Kosman of the Badwater, and he said, are you an ultra runner? And I was like, I don't know what that is. He goes, have you run 100 miles in 24 hours or less? I was like, no. But I said, I'm a Navy SEAL. I was in 3 hell weeks. I was a Ranger. I gave him some resume. He didn't give a shit. He said, I don't care. You got to qualify for my race.